it's funny, fam, because I did have a Christmas dinner where I had, my cousin, my good friend, my mother, all Trump supporters and stuff, kind of talking about the situation, because I think we see a lot of the same things that we saw with Bernie Sanders, with AOC, even a little bit of Tulsi, right? You know what I'm saying? I'd still say right now, after this falling from grace from everybody, that Tulsi's fall from grace was a lot less harder than what we witnessed with Bernie and AOC. And now even as we bring Trump into play over here, because, we've been mentioning this for a long time, fam. Obviously there is there's a bit of guessing or guesstimating of sorts of what Donald Trump's role was. But you were even a little bit more sound than me, more with your foot down, very much in line with the Slow News Day crew, that he is just another puppet. He's playing it out, that it is theater. And some of these things that we just seen recently with Donald Trump are very, very telling. And I think you put it best in your tweet. And that's why I started off this section with your tweet, because I had to tell these people at the Christmas table, at the Christmas Eve table, listen, I got Obama, you got Trump. Get used to it, get it through and whatnot, and come to a certain place where you can see things clearly now. On our wall, we have, what's the Zago brothers thing? The great
sleep.
Yeah, the great sleep,
big sleep,
where
the big sleep,
mm-hmm. where everybody went to sleep because it was Obama and stuff. But when you wake up and you kind of face facts, and you have to face facts and realize that you're not dreaming anymore, the writing's on the wall. And I think the writing's on the wall now for Donald Trump. So please, let's start off with your awesome tweet and get right into it.
Yeah, I can read the tweet. And by the way, for our haters out there who say we never criticize Republicans, we never criticize the right. Hello, this is one of the moments where we are yet again, because they give us reason to. So Trump is as much of a chump puppet as any other president we've had. Trumpers got played, and some still are. Just like the liberals got played with Obama, the quicker you realize that neither he nor progressives are outsiders, the faster we can get to actually countering the real enemy, which is, of course, the predator class that we're talking about. So he was asked by Candace Owens on why he didn't pardon Edward Snowden or Julian Assange. So let's hear it.
I want to ask you, in terms of talking about this corruption, by the way, name that comes to mind in the news recently is Julian Assange. He was exposing this corruption early on. He's had his life ruined because of it. It's a really sad story. Edward Snowden, think about that bravery. For me, I was quite young when that was going on. But the idea of saying, hey, whistleblowing, actually, we've got some corruption going on. They're not being honest with the American people. You could have had a chance to pardon these individuals. Why decide not to in that moment?
You have two sides of it. In one case, you have sort of a spy deal going on. And in another case, you have somebody that's exposing real corruption.
Right.
I feel a little bit, I won't say which one, but I feel a little bit more strongly about one than the other.
Right.
And you probably understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But I could have done it, but I will say you have people on both sides of that issue, good people on both sides, and you have some bad people on one side. But I decided to let that one ride, let the courts work it out.
Fam, I'll let you go first, because that was one of the most, I can start, just picking this apart, but your thoughts on this whole bullshit answer that Donald Trump just gave right over there.
Right. So he used this whole phrase that people really hated. There's good people on both sides. He's trying to portray himself as somebody that is, nuanced and stuff, but really, there is no both sides. There's either the guy's crime, Julian Assange, was literally publishing documents as a journalist. Edward Snowden's crime was revealing that you could say, you could take and go somewhere and say that's more criminal as a country, betraying these secrets. But at the end of the day, he was compelled to do it because he felt people had to know. So what we're talking about here is, there's the side of, do the people have to know? And he talks about the deep state. He talked about the swamp. Here he is throwing cover for them. So to all the people that have said that he's an outsider, that he was going to go in there, that he was, playing 5D chess, just like people said about Bernie, just like people said about, every other leader out there that they seem to, deify and glorify to a certain level and put them on a pedestal, that just doesn't add up. He's obviously, minimizing his actions his inaction, actually, in terms of Julian Assange. By the way, he pardoned like several rappers, several people.
I was about
that
to say,
he
Lil
shouldn't have
Wayne and
pardoned.
Kodak
You can
Black,
talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun. Lil Wayne and Kodak Black got pardons, but Julian Assange didn't. And it's funny when you also mentioned, fam, did you have anything else to say? I'm sorry if you weren't finished. Were you finished?
Go ahead. Just go ahead. Yeah.
Well, the three reasons that people always say with Donald Trump, they like either say, number one, he was a pawn from the get-go. It's all about the theater. And that's, I think, where we are at right now when it comes to him, because you even pointed out just beautifully there, fam. It's, you know, he was supposed to be exposing the deep state, but now he's providing cover for them with this kind of mentality. Number two is that, and this is the reason why a lot of Trumpers that can't let go are still there. Oh, he just, so many people around him, you know, so much pressure. There's only so much one man can do. And, you know, he's trying his best. And, or three, he's playing 5D chess. And this is all to reveal a situation, the QAnon kind of mentality, which, you know, I love a lot of my friends out there. But when they kind of get behind this theory right now, I'm sorry, I have to say a stop now. And enough is enough. The thing that was really most telling about that interview right over there was the fact that he goes, we have some real stuff going on and kind of a spy situation. Well, that spy situation is what his one of his foreign policy advisors, John Lord Bolton, used to reclassify Julian so that he would be void of any rights by labeling him a spy or a foreign combatant. Means that he doesn't have the same rights as any citizen would have in the United States or anybody who would be brought to trial here. So that's the thing that really was really telling to me, is the fact that he's bought into that whole narrative and he's gone with that narrative that Julian was a spy. Julian's not a spy. You know, he's a publisher. And all he did was publish information that was given to him from the American empire, and they were trying to hide from us. He is definitely a hero. And hearing anybody out there saying, oh, Julian is just one white guy, they're just an idiot. They're stupid at this point. He is not just one white guy. He is the guy who exposed the American empire for what it is. He exposed more racism than anybody out there that were going around just bombing people and killing people. Collateral murder should really set in, because that's something that Julian Assange exposed. So that little interview right there was just so bad for Donald Trump. And for him to say, let the courts play it out. Come on. The courts did no justice for him whatsoever when it came to the election situation. To the very last day, we were hoping that he would pardon Julian Assange. He never did, fam, because I believe strongly that it's theater, and he was there the whole time because he's such a polarizing candidate to be able to split the people. He's the ultimate heel meaning villain in professional wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm just reiterating to Trump supporters, this isn't based on my disdain or ideological disdain for Donald Trump and for the right. This is just based on reality. If Donald Trump actually wanted to do something against the deep state, it would have been starting with pardoning Assange and Snowden. It would have been, you know, getting rid of people like Pompeo and getting rid of all these people that were part of the CIA, were part of these covert agencies. He did none of that. So it's not just this. This is just like reiterating. And then, of course, we have the vaccine situation that we've addressed, Operation Warp Speed. So it's all these things combined. And Pasta's absolutely right. This is absolute theater, because the reality is that without Donald Trump's presidency, we wouldn't have gotten the authoritarian measures led by the Biden administration. People wouldn't have been so fear-mongered into hailing Biden as, oh my God, he's so terrible. He's a pro-segregationist, you know, this 1994 crime bill author, Patriot Act author, but we're going to pretend he's somehow better because he's more polite and whatever than Donald Trump. And so once the Joe Biden presidency took over, once the administration took over, it was like, okay, now I'm done. And I'm going to go back to being a billionaire that, you know, is this character of a person, but now I don't have to pretend to govern. And so you really knew who the entire time, especially looking at Trump's foreign policy, which wasn't as, as interventionist as Joe Biden's, but it pretty much maintained the Obama era administration's foreign policy. And you can see that in the immigration situation, where from Obama to Biden to Trump, little has changed on that front. People have gotten less and less and less as the trend is, and the richer have gotten richer. So there's absolutely nothing really that different from the Trump administration's, the 4 years of whatever that was. We know that they're not in control. We know that they're playing theater, because we wouldn't get the division. We wouldn't get to call, domestic violent extremists, anybody who's a socialist, a communist, an animal rights activist, a vegan, a climate activist. We wouldn't have the ability to label these people as that if it wasn't for the events on January 6th, which were, of course, just riots. But, the division within the country that was exacerbated by the Trump versus Democrats and how Trump is this fascist and all of this stuff wouldn't have happened if Trump didn't play his role well. And he played his role well because that's what he is. He's a reality TV star. So that's where we're at. That's what America is. It's wrestling, as you say it. There's nothing real in it. And so it's just kind of like supporting somebody that didn't live up to their word, just the same way that people who got, bought off by Biden thinking
Obama.
that they're going to get student loan debt. And but even the progressives who put all their trust in saying, oh, well, Biden's going to at least do that. No, he's not. They're not doing it because it's not up to them. And they're also playing a role. So we have to really realize, what battle are we fighting here? It's the battle between us and the predator class. It's that simple. Stop putting your ideology into it. We can go to battle and ideology once we get this down. But right now, we're going down the hole towards this sort of fascistic era in America that is extremely, extremely scary.
Yeah. And fam, like you just said too, as well, when it comes to, we should have known this from the get-go, right? I think a lot of the Biden support has to do with the individuals with the white savior complex, that they just want to show that, oh, no, we're doing it for this reason. I really don't believe that they thought they were going to get anything from Biden. And if they did really think they were going to get something from Biden, they're also stupid, not just weak-minded. But WikiLeaks is one of those outlets that really gave Obama the ammunition to go after Bush on day one, for all his war crimes. And he chose not to do it. Same thing with Donald Trump. WikiLeaks had provided an avenue for all these people who were back in power that hated him, the Victoria Nulands, the Anthony Blinkens, the Jake Sullivans, everybody that he could have wanted to go after. The Hillary Clinton, remember when he told people, when Hillary said, well, it's a good thing that you're not president, he goes, yeah, because you'd be in jail. Well, who the hell went to jail? Who went to jail? Nobody got to pay a price for what's going on. Why? Because he's part of the whole situation, hand in hand. And fam, Trump used WikiLeaks time and time again on the campaign trail when he used to say, WikiLeaks, WikiLeaks. Remember, I've been doing this impression for so long. And now this is an article, I remember this in 2016, says Trump was making a joke when he repeatedly said that he loved WikiLeaks during the 2016 campaign, Sanders said, and that's Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Let's take a look at this little minute video over here, fam. And you can just see how full of shit the Don really is.
The Department has now charged Julian Assange with conspiracy to hack into Defense Department computers. Here's what the president said about WikiLeaks during the campaign and then this week.
WikiLeaks, I love WikiLeaks. This WikiLeaks is like a treasure trove. Boy, I love reading those WikiLeaks. I know nothing about WikiLeaks. It's not my thing.
How can the president say he knows nothing about WikiLeaks? Remember, and does he regard Julian Assange as a villain or a hero?
Look, clearly the president was making a joke during the 2016 campaign. Certainly we take this serious. In fact, our administration is the only one that's done anything about it. Let's not forget that the reason Julian Assange is being looked at is because of the engagement he had with Chelsea Manning. That individual is the person that the Obama administration actually commuted their sentence. We're the only ones that have taken this whole process seriously and actually doing something to solve the problem.
Okay.
The president was making a joke during the campaign. It was talking about the specifics of the case at that moment.
It was a joke he made over and over again, but in any case.
It wasn't a joke, fam. It wasn't a joke at all. He would take the paper and he would read the articles. I love WikiLeaks. It wasn't a joke. And this is how, unfortunately, the sensationalism we talked about when it came to Hillary Clinton that we witnessed in 2015 and 2016 was just so over the top. It's on steroids when it comes to Donald Trump. People love this man no matter what he says and how he says things. That is a complete lie. He spouted WikiLeaks story after WikiLeaks story against the DNC on that campaign trail. If anything, WikiLeaks gave him the presidency, and then he turned his back on the man who was really against the deep state, which the swamp he's supposed to drain, right? Fam, I don't know.
Yeah,
your
so
thoughts.
He's a snake oil salesman, and he always was. And that was just an abysmal defense of what he said. Sarah Huckabee Sanders was just a joke. That was a joke. I mean, how can you say that what he used over and over again to carve out this whole picture that he's some sort of like, undercover hero sent by, like the destiny and Jesus Christ himself that's going to like save America from the swamp, from the deep state. How can you say that he was just joking about WikiLeaks when WikiLeaks, as you said, gave him ammunition against Hillary Clinton? Yeah, and like it gave also progressives ammunition against Hillary Clinton, and they didn't harp on that either. But it's just this whole thing where he was just playing this role, and it's so obvious. I mean, it's obvious in hindsight, but to a lot of us, it was obvious then because nobody's like that. And if you know Donald Trump's background, he did talk about Republicans being the easiest group to trick. And so this whole thing where he gave them exactly what they wanted. He would always hand them red meat. Whenever he talked about immigration, whenever he talked about immigrants are coming here and all this stuff, and whenever he talked about the deep state, that's how he got a lot of supporters to come on his side because they thought, oh well, at least he's not a Clinton dynasty. At least he's not this politician. And today they're even defending him, saying, oh, he's just one guy. He tried. Like you can't say that he's the equivalent. No, but he is part of it. He's friends with these people. I mean, their kids went to school together. They went to the same parties. They went to each other's weddings. You have to stop having this illusion. You got duped. End of story.
Yeah. God. Yeah. I was just going to try to make a point that you hit it, whatnot too, as well. I think that the fact is that even though he put this red meat out there, fam, I think the powers that be understood that he would still be liked and he would be forgiven, even if he had to lie straight up. I don't know anything about WikiLeaks. I mean, that's a fucking lie. That's a fucking lie. Excuse my French for cursing, Mom. That's a big time lie over there. And the fact is that the powers that be understood and knew that he can get away with this and people would still fall for him and still follow him. And we would still have two tribes. Now, the other day we played just a small part of this. I want to play the whole thing right now. Because when you talk about snake oil salesmen, and there are some of the answers that came back, really, to tell you the truth, to see some of the people out there, some of the conservative pundits out there, the conservative commentary people that I had a lot of respect for, seeing some of them poo their pants on this whole situation. Let's listen to our boy, just in case anyone forgot that BB's disgruntled settlement broker is still a vaccine salesman. Well, here's the video. That was from our friend Steve. Check it out. I mean, geez.
But look, we did something that was historic. We saved tens of millions of lives worldwide. We, together, all of us, not me, we got a vaccine done, 3 vaccines done, and tremendous therapeutics like Regeneron and other things that have saved a lot of lives. We got a vaccine done in less than 9 months that was supposed to take from 5 to 12 years. Because of that vaccine, millions and millions of people. I think this would have been the Spanish flu of 1917, where up to 100 million people died. This was going to ravage the country far beyond what it is right now. Take credit for it. Take credit for it. What we've done is historic. Don't let them take it away. Don't take it away from ourselves. You're playing right into their hands when you sort of like, oh, the vaccine. If you don't want to take it, you shouldn't be forced to take it. No mandates, but take credit because we saved tens of millions of lives. Take credit. Don't let them take that away from you.
Okay, so the president made news.
Do you agree with that? Right?
Both the president and I are vaxxed, and did you get the booster?
Yes.
I got it too. Okay, so...
Don't. That's all. It's a very tiny group of it.
Fam, that's programming at its best. That's programming at its best, knowing that people are going to follow him into this little wormhole. It was your credit. You got it, fam. You did it, fam. You helped save millions of lives. Don't let them take that away from us, fam.
Yeah, I mean, and again, just he tricked these people. He led them, into pretty much into nothing when they thought they were being led into some sort of enlightenment. And that's not the reality. And also, using Julian Assange, using WikiLeaks while he still remains in prison, not doing anything about that, that's unforgivable. I think if any of these people that were supporters actually stood for freedom, justice, liberty, freedom of speech, all these things they say they stand for, they wouldn't support him anymore because he stands for none of those things. Even if you are, a person that has a right-wing ideology, and you thought, you wanted somebody that wasn't tied or bought by government corporate interests. Well, he is. He clearly is. He's going to go back to his life. And this is why I say you have more common with your neighbors who may be, shitlids or whatever than you do with people like Donald Trump, because again, at the end of the day, he is a billionaire and he is going to look after himself and his family, and he's going to do what he needs to do to continue this persona that he has created.
Yeah. Continuing on this topic over here, if there's any, first of all, I know we don't get along, necessarily get along, and we don't even know her. I know we don't align with Candace Owens ideology-wise. We have a lot of different opinions. But I always thought she was pretty decent and can hold her own. This has to be one of the worst moments for her. I give her kudos for getting in there and asking the question. I really do. Because a lot of people would have probably been told, don't ask this question or stay away from it. And she did ask the question, what about Julian Assange? And then mention the fact that his life is being ruined for telling the truth. But then she had to go back, and I still think that, fam, she's got a little bit of the Trump bug. It says Candace Owens reconciles President Trump's vaccine position by saying he's old and he doesn't use the internet. Candace Owens likely felt some need to follow up on her interview with Donald Trump due to the overwhelming opinion of Trump's vaccine position. Unfortunately, she attempts to reconcile President Trump's position by casting aspersions towards him. Ms. Owen reconciles Donald Trump's support for the 3 COVID-19 vaccines by saying, fam, he's too old to understand the troublesome vaccine information and doesn't use the internet for research. Let's play the video over here, because this has got to be, for me, and I think a lot of people, her trying to dig her way out of the bullshit by throwing more bullshit out there. This has got to be one of her worst moments over here.
He believes that because he comes from a generation, like people, you oftentimes forget like how old Trump is. He comes from a generation. I've seen other people that are older have the exact same perspective. Like they came from a time before TV, before internet, before being able to conduct their independent research, and everything that they read in a newspaper that was pitched to them, like they believed that was a reality. And one of those things was, this push for vaccines and believing that people were going to die without vaccines. And so I believe that his support of the vaccine is genuine and it's not based in any corruption at all. I think he actually believes those things. And people that are saying, how is he ignoring all the people that are being injured? And, people are sending Rumble videos and all of these, websites, obscure websites. I believe also that he only reads the mainstream media news. Believe it or not, I do not believe that Trump reads or partakes in any other news sources. I don't believe that Trump is on the internet or, that he necessarily uses the web to try to find, obscure websites. I think that he just relies on, typical mainstream sources. So I don't think that there's anything evil going on there. I just wanted to say that because so many donors, supporters of his are kind of like questioning where all of this is coming from. And I think he just genuinely believes that. And he needs to sit down and, have a full conversation with someone. I was interviewing him in that circumstance, but he needs to have a larger conversation to really understand what's going on and why so many people are.
Fam, 2 questions, fam. Number 1, does she really believe that? Does she really believe that? And if she does believe that, fam, number 2 question, is that acceptable?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know enough about her to know if she believes that or not, but I do know that she is, part of an agency. I do know that she's recruited to present a certain point of view for the right. So I do think that that plays a role. Donald Trump, she makes a point that he's old, and he is very old. He is. She makes that point. I think he is part of the silent generation. I don't even think he's a baby boomer. I think he's even older than that. So, that is a point that a lot of older people just believe what they see on the mainstream. But Trump was not that person. Trump was always talking about how the mainstream media is fake news. Trump was always talking about how we can't trust mainstream media, how these people during the elections and when they were questioning the elections, how, the fake news was saying all this stuff, how you can't trust the deep state. So yes, if it were a random elderly man in his 80s that didn't actually go online and check the news, I would believe that. But it was somebody that was at least, embedded in that in some way, form or another. And if he wasn't, then he played the role that he was. So either way, he doesn't come out good out of this, because then that means that this whole time he was playing a role, Candace. That means that he wasn't really actually criticizing mainstream media for real. That she's saying he doesn't even read independent media or other news sources, that she, believe it or not, thinks that he mostly looks at mainstream media. Well, then why would he sit there and make it like one of his main campaign points that there's fake news, that CNN is fake news, that MSNBC is fake news, if he doesn't know the difference between that and independent media? So you can't have it both ways. Either he knows and he was genuine about his campaign about the fake news, or he wasn't genuine at all. He was just playing a role. So like, she's kind of contradicting herself here, in order to kind of throw cover for him.
Well, there's two things. I don't believe that she really believes that she's saying that. I believe she's providing cover for him and stuff. Not because she's paid to, because she just really likes him and she's emotionally invested. Like a lot of people we see nowadays that are emotionally invested into Donald Trump and can't come to grips with that fact that he's not the person that they thought he was. And also, that's not acceptable whatsoever. I mean, there's so much information out there about Julian Assange. He was talking about Wikileaks. And then for him to push Regeneron and push the vaccines when he himself had the coronavirus before any vaccines were out there. And there's a lot of talk that he took hydroxychloroquine and it wiped it out 1, 2, 3. He didn't even mention hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin. It really is just, like I said, this is bullshit. It's theater. And that was, to me, one of her worst moments for her trying to save grace. And because it's coming from a place of emotionality, and you can't be emotional when you have to take your emotions out of this, and you have to analyze every situation for what it is. And finally, I'd like to say that too, that fam, that I think that Candace Owens needs to have you on her show so you can debate her. I know a lot of people would like to see that. Candace Owens has had some time beating up on people like Nicki Minaj. Was it she beat up on for a little? Was it Nicki or the other one? Was it Nicki?
Nicki Minaj was anti. She's the one that didn't take the
yeah. She's the one with her friends in the balls, but they got into it. She got Candace Owens kind of put her in her place. A lot of people felt, and it was like an unfair match and whatnot. I think Candace needs to have you on her show so you guys can have a really. She needs to have some common sense leftists on there. She's promoted Anomaly, and Anomaly has pretty much walked away from Donald Trump, period, for the vaccine salesman position, whatnot. So I give him some credit as well, Anomaly. But I think that Candace needs to have a common sense leftist on there that you can have a conversation with and have a good spirited debate. And I think you would be perfect for that. So I think our fams out there should start sending messages to Candace Owens saying, have Fee on to debate about any of the topics that we can have a good, honest debate about out there. And last but not least, fam, the video transcript over here. Glenn Greenwald did this interview the other day. Why are Hillary and Trump united in warning of Bitcoin's dangers? And it's with Alex Gladstein. And pretty much in the video, and I don't have any part of it, whatnot, I didn't have a chance to break it down. I just saw this morning. But the gist of it is that Hillary Clinton doesn't want Bitcoin to thrive because it's a different monetary system and it goes against her globalist aspirations. Donald Trump doesn't want Bitcoin to be successful because he's a billionaire and he's got a lot of money and he doesn't want another monetary system that can devalue his currency and whatnot. But any way you look at it, in 1 week, we had Donald Trump agree and align himself with Joe Biden, and then Donald Trump align and agree with himself with Hillary Clinton. Right. On major issues, fans, whether it be the COVID is a major issue and hand in hand, and the monetary system. Bitcoin is just not about another asset out there. It's challenging the monetary system. So these are two big areas, fams, where Donald Trump has now been united with the people that he was supposedly against. So who knows? Yeah,
exactly. I mean, this is the handshake. This is the pictures. This is, the meme of people, of these corporate elites shaking hands behind the scenes. That's what Trump is, and never forget it. I mean, he was never an outsider. And so, guys, I'm sorry if you fell for it. A lot of us fell for Obama back in the day. It happens again. I mean, you could even talk about Bernie to a certain extent. Obviously, not to the same level, but because he never was president. But I mean, this is the part of it. I mean, they're politicians. Politicians are going to do what politicians do. And that's it, especially billionaires like Donald Trump. So there you go.
Yeah, even Tulsi too, as well, where she kind of changed her position, where now the focus is not so much on the United States empire, it's more on the jihadists that are there. And then I'm not saying that these jihadists are the Boy Scouts and they shouldn't be dealt with, and it's not a problem, but to act like to now do this kind of 180-degree turn to say, well, the issue is them, not the people who created them, which is what I thought she was always like, therefore politicians are going to be politicians. And that's something we have to understand. You can set a level of degree of which one is worse, but this is a situation where we're seeing that we have no friends in Washington whatsoever.
Absolutely.